Hello! Today is July 19th, 2018, and Blizzard revealed 6 new cards for the new Boomsday expansion. First up is Super Collider, 5 mana 1/3 warrior weapon, where after you attack a minion and it survives, force it to attack one of its neighbors. I really like the concept behind this weapon. It utilizes board positioning, something that has proven to be both competitive and interesting gameplay for Warrior before. Whereas board positioning removal like Hunter's Crushing Wall has fallen flat, being able to select where you attack gives you greater control over how you use your value. But there are a lot of problems with this card. Most crucial is the forced neighbor attack is random. The card says it attacks one of its neighbors, so if there's a minion on both sides, it's a 50-50 toss-up to the direction it goes. This makes the card super inconsistent. To use this, you either want to only attack the side minions for consistency, or you take your chances with a middle minion and hope you get the attack you want. There are other issues, taking a lot of damage attacking big minions, and really only a weapon used for board control, but I think it's the card's inconsistency that will be its downfall. I don't have a ton of experience with Control Warrior in the past few expansions, but it seems like they could overcome the health issues, and this works well with their primary focus of keeping the enemy board clear. So if they needed some extra removal, I could see a Control Warrior running one of these. Really, I wish they had reworked this card so it gave more control over to the player, because the random neighbor attack, even if good, is going to be some unwanted RNG if it sees play. Next up is Phlebidinous Floop, 4 mana 3/4 Druid Legendary that, while in your hand, is a 3/4 copy of the last minion you played. This opens up a ton of opportunities. First thing to note is, according to the text, Floop should hold as the copy of a minion even after the turn you play it. This means you could play Malygos on turn 9, and then even if your opponent clears it, on turn 10 you could still play the Floop Malygos, cube it, naturalize, and get 10 spell damage out on the board. Not only does Floop let you play powerful minion abilities for cheap, but it also lets you get their same power out on the board again, even after they're dead. Now, Floop still will only really work in the right deck. A Taunt, Mally, or Big Druid supports this well because you can either afford to wait to draw the Floop combo, or you have enough big minions that you'll consistently be able to combo with Floop. I'd compare it to a better version of Zola the Gorgon, giving you a cheap option to add a powerful card to your hand. While you won't get the same stats or flexibility as Zola, you get the value out on the board faster and cheaper. It's a powerful card, but it needs the right deck to work out. So while I do think it will find its place in this next expansion, if not, it's definitely going to find a deck before it rotates out. And next up, we have some Treant-based Druid cards. Good old Peter here talked about how each class caters to a different type of science. Mage is astronomy, Shaman, meteorology, Warlock, the science of souls, whatever that means, and Druid is focusing on biology, giant plants, magic goo, and tree dudes, I guess. So first up is Landscaping, 3 mana spell that summons 2/2/2 Treants. And this is actually pretty good. 3 mana for 4/4 stats is a nice tempo, but just as nice is getting 2 bodies out on the board for Druid. The better Druid can fill their board, the more value they can get out of their board buffing cards. And this fits into Token Druid seamlessly. It gives them a 3-drop that doesn't mess with their recruit, gives them a better early game, and another way to refill their board. Now, will the other Treant cards see play? Dendrologist, a scientist that studies wooden plants, learned something new, is a 2 mana 2/3 with the Battlecry. If you control a Treant, discover a spell. It's that consistent and strong 2 mana 2/3 stat line, and the Battlecry reward is really powerful, but like most people, I'm very skeptical of being able to satisfy the Battlecry requirement. While I can see Landscaping and Soul of the Forest giving players the chance to discover a spell with this, I don't think the other Treant summoning cards are good enough in the game to support their own deck. Still, if you try to put Dendrologist into Token Druid, it's going to mess up your recruit. Even if Token Druid ends up dropping the early game recruit, I think there are too few Treants in the deck for this to consistently work. And this leads me to Mulch Muncher, 10 mana 8/8 mech with Rush that costs 1 less for each friendly Treant that died this game. Now, while I think towards the end of the game there could be enough dead Treants in Token Druid for this card to work as a 6 or less mana 8/8 with Rush, it just doesn't really fit into the deck. An 8/8 with Rush isn't going to help you refill your board, and if you're holding onto this card, then you're not playing a card that you could be using to fill or buff your board. It would be good in a deck that revolves around Treants, but it just doesn't seem to fit the style or needs of Token Druid. Like I said, most Treant cards aren't good enough to go off and create a new deck. Where Landscaping could be great for Token Druid, the other Treant cards just don't fit in, so I doubt they're going to see play. Like Freeze Shaman, I think these Treant cards from Witchwood and Boomsday are just meant to be bad to balance out the classes. Last up is the very special Whizbang the Wonderful. 4 mana 4/5 neutral legendary where you start the game with one of Whizbang's wonderful decks. So when you add this card to your deck, it actually gets rid of all of your other cards and changes your hero to Whizbang. At the start of the game, you'll get a deck from one of the 18 recent deck recipes at random. With one card, you'll be able to try out a bunch of different decks and play with a ton of new cards that you may not have. Now, recent deck recipes is a little unclear, but I would assume it's 18 decks, 2 for each class, that Blizzard has made for this expansion. And I would also assume the hero power you get at the start of the game would coincide with the class of the deck you receive. This is a great card for Hearthstone. It gives players access to cards they normally wouldn't be able to play with, and decks that they can try out before going all in on Dust. But it is not at all a competitive card. Blizzard never makes the best decks. None of the pre-built ones can win a game in Standard, so this is not a card you're going to use to get to Legendary, let alone rank 15. Also, 18 different decks is going to be some good content for a while, but eventually during this expansion, it's going to get boring playing these decks. That's why maybe the recent part of the decks means that the card will swap in some new decks after every season, or maybe just halfway through the expansion. I'd hope so to keep the card fresh. Either way, the randomness of the deck and Blizzard's weak deck building history means this is not going to be competitive, but still, hopefully a great experience. If you're someone who has a limited budget and wants to rank up, then Whizbang isn't the card for you. But if you want to try out a ton of decks before you pick one to go all in, or if you just play casually and don't want to buy packs, then this is the perfect card to just have some fun in Hearthstone. Ideally, Blizzard would give this card out for free to everybody. It would get people interested in the game and also prevent people from opening this non-competitive card. It's probably not going to happen, but I think Whizbang is going to have an overall positive effect on Hearthstone. Anyways, that is all for now. Check out the Boomsday playlist if you missed any revealed cards. On the screen are the images of the next cards to be revealed on the 23rd, but until then, ta-ta.
My dearest Blizzard, I've been on a journey through the Zambini jungle for 14 months now, and I've made a discovery. You sent me to this far land in search of a solution, a cure, and the specimens I'm sending you here may be the answer.